Oh, good afternoon once again, or good evening once again, and welcome to Step Up, Make a Difference, the podcast. I'm Mike Peacock, along with my co-host and my good friend, Marty Durden. And Marty, how in the world are you, my man?
I'm just doing great, wrapping up a school year here, shorter, and we have exams this week, and then we'll be out for the summer. So another one's in the books. It looks like almost.
Boy,
It's
it is.
how this year has
It's
flown by.
yeah, it's skating downhill fast now. In the high school's about another month, and there'll be all kinds of graduations, and colleges are getting ready to graduate here and starting really in a couple of weeks. College graduations will start, and final exams going on, and all the sports are starting to wind down. I know there's a little while left, a few more weeks left in college baseball season. I was just watching the Auburn Oklahoma game a little bit ago. That's about to get over with, but um, some big series left in SEC baseball and SEC softball. The same thing. Those things are going on, and college softball in general. Those are starting to wind down toward conference tournament time. I know Columbus State here locally, where I am, hosted the Peach Belt Conference tennis tournament this week, and so they're about to head into their national postseason, regional and national competition, and so is golf. Marty, I think you just completed your conference golf tournament last week, and
Yeah.
it is, all of those sports are getting into their postseason now. I think the SEC golf tournament ended on yesterday or Friday. So, a lot of things winding down as far as the scholastic years for both high school and college level, and those seasons. And we're about to head towards summer, and summer's a busy time, and for coaches like we spend a lot of time talking to and with, and like we both have been in our career, summer is not as big of a break as a lot of people think it is. It is actually you get a few weeks to relax, but you're really up there every day, and you're doing summer workouts, you're doing your summer programs, no matter what sport you're in. You're having summer play dates. In football, they've got 7-on-7, so it's a busy time, and it's still very involved time, even though it's a little bit more relaxed than the school year. Uh, but you're gonna be doing a little recruiting now that you looks like you're gonna be the head man for the golf program at Shorter University. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, thank you. It's been fun. I tell you, it's a different dimension of coaching, and we're set with our roster, so I feel pretty good about what we got coming.
Good deal. And speaking of what we got coming, we got a great guest again this week. I think he's a return guest with us here on Step Up, Make a Difference. Local guy, and if you're in the southeast and you have watched Sportvisions, the television show that has been around for a number of years now, and also if you've listened to at times the University of Georgia broadcast, this guy's a regular on the UGA football season broadcast as a contributor, and former Bulldog himself and a former NFL player. We're going to welcome in one DJ Jones back with us. And DJ, welcome to Step Up once again. Good to see you, my friend.
Great Sunday afternoon, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're glad you're able to join us. You're getting back from Florida, and I'm envious. Got to go to Florida, and I had to stay here, but that's okay. Us peons, we have to stay here and handle things.
Well,
But
it's
anyway,
part of my deal, man. My wife
absolutely.
obviously is from Tampa, and she has business there, so and commitments, assignments. So probably once or twice a month, we have to head down to the Tampa Bay area to take care of a little business, and I just go along for support. I'm the cheerleader.
I hear you. I hear you. Not a bad place to have to go do business at all, is
Absolutely, absolutely.
it?
DJ, we're just blessed to have you as a friend. You're just such a familiar face around Columbus. Well, really, the state of Georgia, Southeast United States, and everything you do is just done with excellence. And it's just so comfortable to be around a guy like you and to just have you, every morning I listen to you every morning, right? You send out the news. Sometimes I'm riding to work. It's like 6 in the morning, and there you are. You're already up and at 'em. So you just seem to be everywhere at once, doing everything, involved in so many things. And I'm just amazed at the energy you have and how much you help young people and coaches. I want, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you.
Well, thank you for listening, and I tell you, it's a blessing. That's all I can say, because again, to be able to play this game, grow up in this community, to go away, to experience it at the highest level, and to come back home and basically, you made mention of me working with the University of Georgia. I've worked for them, and obviously as a sports director with WRBL, our local TV affiliate, worked in radio for a number of different organizations. But to have my own Sportvisions, now with Sportvisions 92.1. What a blessing it is to come be able to help people. What is one of our mantras is we appreciate the fact that you allow us to help you get your day started. And with positive sports information, you want to hear about your kids, your teams, your organizations in your city. And man, I tell you what, the good Lord has, that's the only way. I mean, there has to be a God for all of these wonderful things for me to have experienced over my 64 years here on this earth.
I agree with that, brother. I'll say this. Amen, brother.
That's
Yeah,
right.
there's no doubt about it, DJ, when God has a plan, things just fall into place. And sometimes, they're not planned, and you're not looking for them, but all of a sudden they kind of fall in your lap, and there they are, and you just feel you're just sitting back going, wow, how did this happen? How did I get to where I am, from where I started? And the only answer is God. God had a plan. God put us there. God opened the right doors. He led us down the right paths. He had us meet the right people. And it's just been, to watch you, from the beginning, starting out with Sports Visions and starting with Dale, and getting the TV show going and doing your radio show and working at WRBL, all of those things, just step by step by step, you've gotten to where you are, and you've built a really, really solid thing, and you've influenced a lot of people. I get to broadcast on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and without your influence and working with Thrift Barringer, Georgia Alabama Sports Live wouldn't exist. And you had a big hand in getting that started and encouraging a young man to start something that has blossomed into something fantastic, and is growing every day. And then this old guy gets to have a hand in that and be a part of it, and it's been a lot of fun. I tell you, it's amazing to watch, and I'm like you. I feel so blessed every time I get behind a microphone and talk about a ball game, or get on a show like this and do this podcast. I just feel like it is a tremendous blessing to be able to do it.
You're absolutely right. Again, the blessing within itself, obviously, God is leading me into the lives of these young people, and I have some young, talented people that I've worked with over the years, man. I tell you, again, to be able to, to touch the lives of a Thrift Barringer, of a Rachel Barbeau, and so many others that have gone on to do spectacular things. And, all I've done is just do, what my parents taught me. They taught me to treat people like you want to be treated, share, again, network. And of course, put your best foot forward. I'm not perfect. I don't check all the boxes. Sure, I've made a few hiccups and mistakes along the way, but again, my faith and again, believing in myself, and betting on myself, and loving myself and loving what I do in this community has a lot to do with the success that we've had.
I just feel like the thing that jumps out at me about when I think about you, DJ, is your motive. The difference in people, the difference in a servant leader and other leaders is the why. Why do you do what you do? And the guy who wants to just be powerful and use their position for themselves, well, that's just not a pure motive. But you are so generous with other people. You know, Thrift Barringer, who just called us on the phone one day, just out of nowhere, and said, "Would you be interested in starting the show?" And here we are, and we know you were behind that, and so it's just to me like you're always helping somebody else, and your motive is not about DJ. Your motive is about everybody else, and for that, somebody needs to recognize that you're always helping other people, and power for you is raising other people up, not raising yourself up.
That's right, Coach. I tell you, man, you said a mouthful there, and again, it's just I wish that we had more people like us in the world that weren't so self-centered. And again, I mean, if the winners and the champions that I've been involved with over my career have been people that are not self-serving. These are people that are not selfish. These have been people that believed in helping their fellow man. And if you win, I win. And again,
Mhm.
with what I say, again with Thrift or Rachel or any of the other young people that I've touched along the way, you know. It's like being a football coach or a baseball coach or a basketball coach that has kids that you coached in little league or high school that go off and make it in college or in the pros. You had you had a hand in that, but it wasn't a situation where you're expecting anything out of it. Your blessing comes by the fruit of your labor, and that's basically what it is. And so many people poured into me, Marty. You and Mike probably heard me say this a lot, on the show that but the from my parents to my coaches, both high school, college, even in the professional ranks. So a lot of people had a lot of hands on me. And again, so for me not to reciprocate, that would be a sin.
Mhm. There's no doubt about it. I think that's the greatest way any of us can repay those who poured into us is to take what they taught us and pass it on, pay it forward. In other words, and I think that's what we all try to do. That's what this podcast is all about. Marty and I, we started talking about this thing about 3 or 4 years ago, and saying we ought to do one, and it took us forever to get it going. And Thrift provided us the platform to be able to get it on, and said he wanted to have some faith-based, positive material on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and he knew I had talked to him a little bit and knew that we were planning to try to get something together, and he gave us this opportunity. And it's just a way, we want something positive out there. There's so much negative in the world. All you have to do is turn the TV on or pick your
Yes.
phone up, and something negative is going to happen. I mean, heck, just look less than 24 hours ago, somebody tried to shoot the president again, and it's just like, what in the world is going on in this world today? We need more positive. We need more positive role models. We need more people living the right way in front of people and doing things the right way, leading the right way. And that's what we're striving to do. And we're hoping to influence more people to pick up that baton and carry it further. And like the Romans and like the Bible says, go that extra mile. They were required. I think the story goes that citizens were required to walk a mile with the Roman soldiers' gear. And where that go the extra mile came from is be willing to go an extra mile. Don't just do your mile, but be willing to go an extra mile, and use that as service and as leadership, as an example. And that's what we're trying to do is, all of us have jobs, all of us have a life outside what we do here, and we're just trying to take our extra time and our extra effort and hopefully influence some people the right way and say something, even if it's just one thing. And even if we just influence one person to do the right thing, every bit of the effort is worth it.
That's right. And leaders make the people around them better. And that brings me to the topic. I want to get your take, DJ, on a guy who I think really does that, Gunner Stockton. What do you think about him?
I think Gunner's is a class act. I think that he's a very special individual. He's tough as nails. He's not the flash and dash. He's not the guy, the box office guy that everybody's uh, you know wanting him to be, so to speak. I mean, a lot of people talking, but the bottom line is he's the quarterback of the University of Georgia's football team that has been really successful. And yeah, do I want the University of Georgia to win a national championship with Gunner Stockton? I sure do. Do I want Gunner Stockton to throw more touchdowns and to make more aggressive plays down the field? Yes, I do. But Gunner Stockton can't do all of that by himself. He has to have
Mhm.
people in place. So, of course, he has to have a line, first of all, to keep him upright. He has to have receivers that make plays. Coach, you know as well as I do, and Mike, you've seen a lot of football. Today in particularly, it's just that a lot of people are into the guys that are box office. I guess that's the word for it. They want a guy that's
Mhm.
electric. They want a guy that can run the 4.340, and they want a guy that can throw the ball 80 yards down the field with accuracy and touch. But Garner Stockton, I think, is a young man that I think he's done well, and again, I think he'll finish well his final season at the University of Georgia.
I think somebody explained Gunner this way the other day, and I thought it was cool. They said, he's not the fastest guys. He may not outrun you. He may not have the strongest arm. There's guys can beat him. He's not going to maybe make the biggest plays. He can't really do anything but beat you.
Yeah,
And then and that might be the only thing that really matters, isn't it?
that is the only thing that matters.
So I feel good. How do you feel about the team this year? You think they tell me what your forecast is?
Well, Kirby's just completed 10 years and he's going into his 11th year, man. And first of all, that's phenomenal when you consider,
Mm-hmm.
how fast that has happened, man. This guy has a couple of national championships, several SEC championships. And I trust Kirby. That's been my thing. I trust him. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of things that happen, but at the same time, he's a guy. He's the best in the country right now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to go against him. You might not necessarily agree with everything that he does, but he's a winner. And as long as he's in Athens, I know the dynamics of the game has changed with the portal and NIL. But again, it seems that he's able to compete. He's able to do what it needs to be done, and hopefully he'll be around for another 5-10 years or so.
I heard him make a statement this week about some of the guys, some of the familiar names that were making plays next year may not get as much. There might be some new faces that they'll be stepping up. I didn't know quite what to make of that. Was it? You think it was a challenge, or you think it was a statement of fact, or you think he just recruited well? What do you think?
It's a combination of everything you just said, Coach. Kirby's a guy. He's a straight shooter, and one thing about it, if you play at the University of Georgia, if you decide to sign and come go there, you're gonna have you're telling everybody on his staff that you want to be coached because he's not gonna sugarcoat anything. He walks around with that microphone in practice. It's loud, and he calls you out. But you know what? You know that, and those recruits know that when they're visiting, and their parents understand what's the dynamics of that as well. So again, you got what you see is what you get. The competition day in and day out in Athens. You ask those professional football teams that just had a draft the last 3 days. They love the University of Georgia's players because they compete, they're physical, and they're well coached.
Yeah, no doubt. And
Fact right there.
to be around
Mike, I
in
can't
the
hear you.
SEC, around in the SEC. DJ, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. To be around in the SEC for 10 years is an accomplishment.
Yes.
If you look around the league and you look at coaches and you look at coaching tenures in Power 5 football all over the country, if you last more than 10 years, if you last more than 5 years at a school, it means you're having success. If you last 10 years, that means you've been ultra successful and you've probably been a championship coach. And you've built that reputation and you've built your program to an extent that you can get the level of respect for your school to keep you around. Because, with the amount of money and the resources and everything that's going around in all the Power 5 schools, if you don't produce, you're not going to be there long. What was it Jerry Glanville said? He told an official, he said, He said, this is NFL means not for long if you keep doing that kind of job, and and I know this is not the NFL we're talking about college football, but it's the same concept. If you don't produce and you don't do what you're supposed to do, then you're not going to be around long to get many second chances. Put it that way. And I'm a fan of a school here over close by, and we can attest to that because we've had a little bit of a revolving door, and almost had Kirby Smart. If you remember back in several years ago, we very close to hiring Kirby Smart. And matter of fact, if we'd have let him coach in the national championship all the way through the national championship, he probably would have been at Auburn. Now that doesn't mean he wouldn't have left Auburn to go to Georgia, because Georgia's his heart, and everybody knows that. But it's one of those situations where it is, you have to produce, you have to do what you do, and you have to have athletes that buy in. And I think that's the biggest thing, DJ, and it's what Marty and I talk about all the time: building relationships with kids and them knowing that you have their best interest at heart. And absolutely, Kirby Smart has the best interest of those players at heart, and they know it, and they play for him, and they stay there for the majority. For the most part, those guys stay there, and they stay their whole career at Georgia, and that's what builds a championship program.
Honesty and being straight, forthright with these kids and their parents. Like I said, that's probably the transparency that he has. I think that's to his advantage, and learning that from a guy that's many say is the greatest that's ever done it, Nick Saban. Hey man, look, Kirby had a hand up, and he's just a spinoff of one of the goats.
No doubt about it. I met him a couple of times in person when he was coaching for under Coach Saban, and walked into the office over at Opelika High School one day, and he was over there on a little recruiting visit, and I got to shake his hand and talk to him for a few minutes back when he was on the Alabama staff. And super good guy, very approachable, and you're like, he's a no nonsense guy. He's going to tell you like it is, and he's going to coach you hard, but he's going to love you harder. And I think that's what the players at Georgia know, is that he has their best interest at heart. He wants them to get to the next level, and he's trying to coach them to the next level. And if they listen, all you got to do is watch the NFL draft every year, and you're going to find out that he's going to get you to the next level if you want to be there.
That's right. That's right. And again, the proof is in the pudding. Again, most of the scouts and the coaches around the NFL, the reputation of what Kirby's able to do in Athens with his staff, and how he's able to develop those players. Man, it's amazing he's been able to do. And we talk about 10 years, but that's relatively a short period of time to build the roster, to build the menu of professional prospects out of college. And it's amazing, man. I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but there's certainly an amount around the top. I know Philadelphia has at least a half dozen players from recent years, and they got another one this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a
Yep, that's for sure.
training ground for those guys. I mean, we sent them to we sent them to Pennsylvania, and they prosper up there. That defense is smothered you. Wow. And they're all Georgia guys.
Yes, indeed. But guys, let me take this opportunity to thank you. I know you gave you complimented my show and my platform, but I want to compliment you guys, because you guys are both are terrific individuals. Mike, of course what you've done at CSU over the years, and again now of course on the scene in a big way with Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And Coach, you're one of the legends, local legends from around this way, man. And again, your name is synonymous with a lot of great programs, a lot of other great coaches and people from this community. And to have Step Up on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, I think that there needs to be more, like you said, more positive people in the business to show and to shine the light on other positive things that are going on. We can't do anything about the news and the negativity, but all we can do is come on and shine our light. And I love what you guys do. I'm a big fan of yours as well. And the positivity, the great people, the great conversations that you have, being a faith-based program, it's something that, again, these kids really need. Actually not just the kids, their families, and their coaches. And I know they appreciate you guys both.
we appreciate that very, very much. And coming from you means a whole lot more. And it is, there's a lot of similarities in our faith walk and in sports. This is struggle, right? We have a goal to accomplish. We have teammates. I mean, there's no better way to teach Christianity and character than being a coach. I think, more effective than being a pastor. Personally, I think my coaches got to me when basically the pastor couldn't. So I think that it's what we're doing here makes a lot of difference. We get a lot of people. We just get tons of feedback during the week. And the reason we asked you back was there's so many people saying, "Hey, why don't you get DJ back on?" So that was easy. I figured that's pretty easy to get, man. So
Anytime you guys need
yeah,
me, man, I'm
it's been
here.
a great,
I enjoy it
great
because, again, like
adventure.
I
And we
said,
just feel like we're really getting started. We keep saying this every week. We really don't know what we're doing yet.
Well,
yeah,
I tell every guest that we invite, I say, look, we're unscripted. We're completely unscripted. We're just going to be three guys talking, and we're going to tell stories. We're going to talk, and there's no real rhyme or reason about what we're doing. And a lot of times, and DJ Marty and I have experienced this, and we could tell you some stories about some of the episodes. But we talked about it being a God thing a little bit earlier. But some of our shows have been absolutely God directed, and they have been full of God's presence in this whole thing. So and when we feel that happening, we just let it happen. And
right.
we don't do anything to try to steer it in a direction. We just let it keep going. And we've had all three of us, Marty and myself, and our guest in tears on here on this show, and we've laughed and we've had a little bit of everything experienced on this show. But it's amazing what comes up when you're just three men or two men and a woman, whatever the case may be. We've had female guests on here as well, and when God kind of takes over and directs the conversation, you never know what's going to come about, and you just ride with it and let him let him take the wheel. And it's been a lot of fun, and we've had a lot of good things. And I'm gonna tag on to that. I'm gonna spin off of that a little bit. Something I wanted to get your take on, DJ. And we saw it again on Thursday night when the NFL draft was on. And those guys who were drafted would get their interview, and it was amazing, and it was also very heartening to see that the very first thing that came out of their mouth was praise to God and thanks to God for his blessings on getting them to where they are. And then they talked about everybody else. And that's been a trend in professional and college athletics the last maybe what, Marty, what did you say, 18 months to 2 years? There have been more
Yep.
and more and more athletes who have just been unabashed at stating their faith and giving God the credit anytime they get a microphone in front of them. Coaches have done the same thing. Some general managers, some personnel, some upper management personnel from teams have done the same thing. And it has been fantastic to see that, because not long ago, if they did that, the cancel culture would have taken over, and those guys would have been vilified, and they would have, the based folks would have got a hold of them, and now the boldness has taken over, and it's made a difference. It's made a difference in the attitudes on college campuses. It's made a difference in the attitudes of those covering sports. People are starting to take notice about this God thing. And what do you think about that, DJ? What have you noticed the same thing? And it's, what do you think's going on? I mean, I love it. I hope more of it goes on.
Well, I think it's terrific. I think it, and again, but going back to my days, 30, 40 decades ago, with regards to, thanking God and giving praise and giving, to the Most High, honor to the Most High, or whatever God or whatever you believe in, has always been there. But I think most recently, I don't, I guess it's combination of the idols and the goats of the game, if you will, being able to share their uh, their relationships with a lot of these folks, and it's made it more, I guess respectable. Not, maybe that's not the word, but they kids are really understanding. First of all, to be drafted, and I'll just use the draft. I had an opportunity to go down and walk down that road in 1984 when the Green Bay Packers selected me. That's the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. Is to make a football team and to make a 53-man roster. So yes, it has to be. I mean, it is without a doubt God. But
Hmm.
these young men, knowing that these, coming out of the situations and some of the circumstances that they're coming out of, whether it's, financially or whether it's, the conditions of their communities, to rise up and have the talents and the wherewithal to stay out of trouble, to get an opportunity to go to colleges and continue and to be seen and to develop. Yes, to people out there that don't understand or who have never had the opportunity to play the game, it's really hard to talk about because it's hard to explain.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. I can't put a finger on why, but I do know that, again, most of these young men realize that that walk is harder than they anticipated when you're a little boy playing little league ball and you're saying, hey, I want to play in the National Football League. But that walk and those, all of the people, all of the situation, all the ups and downs, all of the perseverance, all of the good times, the bad times, and still being there at the end of the day to know that you have an opportunity that your name is called, you were picked, and now you just got to go out and finish the drill. Uh, these guys are gifted, but like I said, their faith uh, is taking over, and I'm happy that they're sharing it.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And I want to ask you this too. I mean, and most of the programs in the Southeastern Conference, and it's spreading around the country, have a team chaplain. Uh, and that team chaplain has become a very important part of the staff. And I know Auburn had a man named Chet Williams who was the chaplain forever, and unfortunately, a couple of years ago, Chet tragically passed away in a drowning. And now they have a guy, a former player at Auburn. I think his name is Mike Ponce, who is their chaplain. He was actually one of Chet's guys, and I believe he became a Christian under Chet's leadership. And now he's back at Auburn, and he's the new chaplain that has taken over and is keeping that boat rolling over there. But I know Georgia's had what they call him, Chappie, that was there for a long
Yep,
time. And
right.
he's still there. I'm not sure who their chaplain is now. I know I heard him speak one time, but uh,
You know,
and,
his name escapes me, but he's a guy that's been there in the program about as long as Kirby's been there. I
Mhm.
can't think of his name, but a good friend of mine, Jeremiah Castile, who was a former
Oh
teammate,
yeah.
at least with the Denver Broncos, and one of the opponents. He played at Central in Phoenix City, but he has been at University of Alabama for over 20 years, and he's been
Yes.
able to come down to speak to some of our at a couple of our luncheons, football luncheons, and but yeah, parents want to know now. I mean, obviously, these kids are getting wonderful and tremendous opportunities, but they want when they're sending their kids over and that's their babies, even though there's some of them are 6'5", 6'6", 300 pounds. That's their babies, and they want to know who is going to
Mhm.
be there for them as far as understanding that that they need God in their lives. They want to go to church. They want to have Bible study. And Jeremiah told me that, that the chaplain now is becoming just as big a part of the recruitment process as anything because parents are now being more understanding and realizing that, it's very important. Yeah, I love the fact that you guys got great facilities, you got a great name and a great culture, but who is going to, keep my son close to God? Who is he going to worship with? Who is he going to have, prayer with? Who is he going to have Bible study with? And that's what's going on all over America right now.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I teach these Gen Z kids in class, and they have a purpose, DJ. They're they really believe, like when you go to say, an FCA meeting with a Gen Z group, they sing at the top of their voice. They get into it. I mean, Gen Z, they're serious about their faith. And everybody talks about Gen Z, but I don't see that in them. I think that they're the real deal, and we need more. We know we need more of that. It's interesting that you brought up Jeremiah. When we started FCA those years ago, like '95 maybe, he was our first speaker. First speaker we had down here. So
He's a good one. He is really, really, really talented, and his testimony is so powerful because again, growing up in Phoenix City, in humble beginnings, and his mother and her alcohol problems, and his dad, and his, the way he, has handled himself, and it's just his entire testimony from his walk to what he does now is just phenomenal. And Mike, what a lot of people don't realize is that this young man, Jeremiah Castile, is only about 5'9",
Hmm.
165 pounds soaking wet. But he was an All-American at Alabama. He was a starter in the National Football League, and he is one of the better football players to have ever come out of this area.
Oh
And
yeah.
he's done all of that, with again facing against the odds of his size.
Oh, he has, and you see him now, and you're like, if you didn't know him and you didn't know his story and you didn't know who he was, you'd think there's no way that guy played in the NFL. What was he, a kicker or something?
Yeah, but I tell you, he's a powerful dude. Can you hear me,
Oh,
Mike?
there we go. Now I got
Yeah.
you back.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're Marty and I are having difficulty because a lot of times we've each had to get out and get back in because we're having some difficulty, and I couldn't hear Marty, so I would get out, and then I think Marty couldn't hear me, and then my earbuds disconnected, which I'm using for my mic and to hear. So I don't know what the gremlins are here today, and that means, you know what that means, DJ? That means we're doing the right thing. That means
Absolutely.
we're serving the right purpose, because when the enemy tries to use the little tricks to get into you, that means you're doing something that he don't want people to hear, and he don't want
That's
people
right.
to hear about. So we're going to keep that attitude about it, and we're going to keep talking about it. We're just going to keep going out and back in until we get it right. But yeah, I had the chance a couple of weeks ago, DJ, to hear Gene Chizik speak at a breakfast. And Gene Chizik is another guy who's a really great man of faith, and a good football coach. And, he got a national championship under his belt, got a great defensive mind. He's, to be honest with you, probably a better defensive coordinator than he was a head coach. But great players make great coaches, and he had some great players when he won the national championship at Auburn. But he had some great stories, and Gene's not had it easy either. The thing I love about being a Christian is, there's a stigma that a lot of people who are against Christianity and don't believe, they think that, Christians are immune to bad stuff, and a lot of people think if I become a Christian, I'm not going to have bad stuff happen to me anymore, and bad things aren't going to happen. But that's not biblical. If you look in the Bible, the Bible is there to equip us for the bad things that happen. Uh, and these spiritual leaders that are influencing these players now, these players and these college students, there's moves on college campuses, not just athletes. I think a lot of times it starts with athletes and it spreads to the entire campus. But there's a big move going on for Christ all over this country and all over college campuses. And people who once were bashing Christians are now professing Christians, and they are spreading the good news, and they are putting the message out there, and it is getting stronger and stronger. Look at Christian music. Christian music has exploded in the last couple of years. It's gotten better and better, and it's just exploded. And that influence comes from a younger generation who's picking that up, and they're picking it up from somebody. They're not just picking up a Bible all of a sudden and starting to read it. They're actually getting influenced by people, and we want to be in on that, as well. But a lot of it comes, DJ, from coaches. and Christian coaches who are leading in the right direction. And, I was fortunate enough that I had two really solid Christian coaches in high school that were great influences. And unfortunately, a few years ago, I lost my high school coach that I had my last year and a half of high school to a tragic car accident. But I tell you what, his influence has reached way further than his life did when he was alive. And, he's got kids all over the place, that he influenced that are good, strong men now that are influencing others. And I appreciate that. And I just, you've had great coaches, you've had good, solid Christian coaches in your career as well, and in your life. You had family. My dad was a Baptist minister. I think was it your dad? Or your dad was a deacon, right?
Yes,
And
yes, Deacon
your
Jones. Uh huh.
yeah, and somebody in your family was a minister. Was it not?
Yeah, my aunt. Yeah, my aunt is she is Bishop
Hmm.
Shepherd. She is Bishop Barbara Shepherd, Words of Wisdom Church. But my
Yeah.
mom was a deaconess, and yeah, it was there for me, man. Again, and people, especially kids, that I didn't understand why mom would make me go to Sunday school and I'd have to go to all these different little Bible studies and whatnot. But eventually, it kicked in because having the experiences that the good Lord blessed me with again, it was some fantastic situations from my collegiate uh, prospecting and visiting colleges and having those colleges and having the understanding and the opportunity to make decisions about where I wanted to go to school and
Hmm.
finally settling in at Georgia and then going on to the National Football League and where that that was great, but that was only the start because having an opportunity to enter corporate America and work for J&J in surgical instrumentation and work for Mizuno as a national promotions manager. God was, I'm telling you, man, he was spectacular. And from there, and again, of course, people all the sports jobs, but the opportunities and experiences that were given to me, they were gifts from God. And
Hmm.
having those, having that base, that fundamental and that solid foundation. No, I didn't check all the boxes. Yeah, I screwed up. I did a lot of things that I'm not
Hmm.
happy about, but at the same time, who is perfect? And you show me a person that says they've never done anything wrong, and I'd show you a liar. I really will.
Yeah.
And
There's no doubt about
but
it.
and I'm proud of having the opportunity to come full circle, regardless, because that's the fight in us. That's the God in us wanting to continue to thrive, to be the best that you can be. And tell you, Mike, you've been around just as long as I have, and again, you have more L's than you have wins, but those wins are special, but those losses are lessons, and that's
Oh yeah.
that's the big thing.
Yeah. Yes, it is. That's where you cannot grow as a person without failure. You have to learn how to respond to failure. You have to learn how to handle failure, and especially you learn from failure. You learn what not to do next time. I had a conversation with my 22-year-old son, several conversations over the last couple of weeks about, son, you got to look at what other people have done. And when somebody older than you and wiser than you is giving you advice, pay attention because they've lived it and they've messed up. And they're probably trying to help you not mess up on the same things they did. And you can learn as much from somebody else's mistakes as you can your own. Uh, and I think that's important advice for everybody is, use the failures of others to help you learn what not to do. A good leader is going to show you both what to do and what not to do. Uh, and when you put those things together, you find steps to growth. You're going to stumble. You're going to fall off the ladder. You're going to have to get back on and climb back up. It's going to happen. But you've always got, especially if you are a person of faith, you've always got somebody who's going to be there to lift you up. There's always going to be a hand out to you, reached out to you when you've fallen, and all you got to do is grab that hand, and he'll pull you back up. And he's going to get you back where you're going. And it's that's there are people out there that preach if you become a Christian and you do the right things, then everything's going to be hunky dory and it's going to be great. And no, that's not necessarily the case. You're going to go through hard times. You're going to have bad things happen, and bad things are going to happen to good people. Sometimes bad things are going to happen when everything is going fantastic, and all of a sudden it'll crash, and it won't be anything you did. It's just going to be circumstances. And you know, God's going to be right there with you. And your friends are going to be right there with you. Your true friends are going to be right there with you. Your brothers and sisters are going to be right there with you, and they're going to help pull you out of that. And you may go through some tough stuff, but if you have that faith, you're going to have a peace. And the Bible says it's a peace that transcends understanding. And and it's hard for people who don't have that to understand how Christians, how strong Christians, strong people of faith, it's hard for them to understand how they go through those difficult times, DJ, and not just throw their hands up and, go destroy something, get so angry that they go destroy something. And, it's because of God gives you a grace and a peace that you just don't need to do that anymore. You can lie in Him, you can bury your head in His chest, and He's going to get you through it.
Absolutely. And prayer again, and this sounds, it sounds a little not necessarily stale, but when we say, hey, look, just go into prayer, stay in prayer when you have situations. I mean, pray when it's good, pray when it's bad, just pray, and be
Mm-hmm.
thankful for the opportunities that the good Lord has given you. And like I said, I just I pitch myself sometimes when I think about what my mom and dad, that foundation, how it was able to be embedded in me, and then to
Mm-hmm.
now through again many trials and tribulations, still being able to take those losses and turn them into something positive, being able to touch other people and share my testimony, my story. Because again, and everybody says to you, hey, you down to earth. Yeah, but I'm down to earth because you know what? I realize that all of this could have been taken away, and some of it has been taken away. But making it in the National Football League, working on in television and in broadcasting, and Mike, you know as well as I do, this is tough. What we do, if it was hard, if it was easy, everybody would do it. But
Everybody do it, yeah.
regardless of where we are, you have to bloom where your feet are planted. And being in Columbus and having the opportunity to touch some lives of some young folks that have gone on and done well and still have a lot more promise. It's just it's extraordinary. It's fascinating, and it's just special. It's special, and that's the only way that I could put it. And I just wish and pray that more younger coaches, young administrators, young players, and parents will take the some of the advice, or take some of the stories, or sit down and allow us to share with them. Because again, nobody, they don't have a manual on how this stuff is done. I mean, these coaches show up, and if you're talented enough to get recruited, and you're doing the right thing, hopefully you're doing the right thing. But some of the decisions you have to make on with regards to what program is best for you, what coach is the coach that you want to give your son to for the next 3-4 years. You know, you got to pray, and you got to get around people that have been in those situations to get their opinions as well, because there's no way in the world that I could have a son or a daughter that I'm just going to go off the word of an individual because he says my son is good. I have to have people in my community, people in my network, people in my family who have experienced it, and I would want to get their say so.
Hmm. Absolutely, and that's important. And it's that it again. That's why coaches and teachers are so important in the lives of kids. Because their parents doing everything they can to direct those kids the right way. But sometimes, parents start to sound like Charlie Brown's mother on the old Charlie Brown cartoons. You get the wah, 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 and that's what the kid's hearing. But that coach at school or that teacher at school that believes in them and has faith in them, they get through. They get that message through. And the next thing you know, you get older and you realize I saw a great T-shirt, and I've always remembered this. It said, "The older I get, the smarter my parents were."
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and
I can,
there's a
I believe
lot of
that.
meaning to that, because when you're a teenager and when you're a young adult, you think your parents are just they're old and they're goofy and they just don't understand. No, they've been there and done that and they do understand. And when you get older, you realize, you know what, my mom and dad were right. They weren't trying to hold me back. They weren't trying to do anything. They were trying to help me and they were trying to guide me. And I think that's important for all of us to realize. But you also have to have those people in your life outside of your parents, and a lot of times that falls with your coaches. Your coach being, Billy Graham said a coach can influence more people in a year than most pastors will in a lifetime, and that's the truth. Coaches have a huge influence, and I think it's very important. Um, and DJ, before we get out of here today, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about some things that are going on here locally in our area. You've got the Sportsvisions show, but we've got the Columbus Clingstones that are playing well, and a Double A team of the Atlanta Braves back here in Columbus, brand new stadium, second year of that beautiful stadium down there. But right now we got the hockey team, and I hadn't heard. I don't know what time they're playing today. I don't know if they were playing afternoon or night, but they're in the playoffs. And then just starting, we got the Columbus Lions, and a friend of yours, old friend of yours, Damian Daniels, the head coach, and a local guy, local talent, and doing a tremendous job with them. But even better, last week we had Corey Black on our show, and that Corey's got a great story of where he came from and where he is now. It's amazing the
Yeah,
rise that
yes.
he's had and what he's done. And you've got Roger Beck, the new owner, who's a local man, and boy, they're building something pretty doggone cool for the Columbus community. And it's obvious through the first two games, people are starting to pick up on it. People are starting to get the vibe a little bit that this is a pretty good little deal here we've got going. And of course, Dave Plata and I are so honored to be the broadcast team for the Lions this year. I get to do play-by-play. Dave gets to do color, and everybody knows Dave Plata. He's been around here for I think about 180 years since TV came out. I think Dave's been on TV in Columbus, Georgia since TV started. But just joking. But Dave has been around a long time, and he's an encyclopedia of knowledge for that. But what do you think about the local sports scene now and what's going on? What's your take on everything that's happening in Columbus?
Let me first start by thanking you and Dave both. I was in Florida, as you meant. I was in Tampa watching the game, and again, I was at the first game of that 79-0 debacle, with of course
Yeah.
with all the entertainment and everything. But again, I mean, I felt like I was at the game with listening to you guys on the YouTube channel, the Lions YouTube channel, and it was you guys did a great job. It was a great game, and the halftime entertainment was outstanding. So yeah,
Hmm.
I love it. I love it. I'm a big football guy, but everything that's going on with the hockey team, and of course, Boom Boom is a friend, and he's
Hmm.
we've had a number of conversations on the show on the air, and of course, Pete Lavin and the Clingstones and what they're doing is tremendous. But here's what I'm more impressed with all three: the fact that for the very first time that I've been in this community now, if it's happened before, I never saw it because I've been involved in arena football with the Columbus War Dogs years ago, and again, there's been a number of other organizations, but to see how all three of these teams all stand together, and even the hockey, the soccer team might even be a part of this, but how they're able to share the wealth and to co-promote each other. I know that the Lions and the Clingstones, as well as the River Dragons. Man, that is special, and that makes Columbus one Columbus. And I
Hmm.
think that you know what, if that is what our future is going to be propped up on, I'm looking forward to it, man. Because again, all of those fans having the luxury of being able to root for not just each individual team, but root for the Columbus team, and I'm happy. I like that a lot. I really do.
I really do too. It's there are a lot of people who are not big baseball people, and they might not want to go see the Clingstones very often. It's hot sometimes, and the last thing you want to do is sit on a 95-degree day and watch baseball for 9 innings. And there are a lot of people like that. I'm not like that. I would sit for hours and watch baseball. It's my passion. It's what I grew up playing. And, like you are with football, I'm with baseball. I love it. I love football too. I love basketball. I love virtually any sport. But my passion has always been with baseball. That's what got my heart beating fast when I was a kid, and I was able to play into college a little bit, and I've been around it. I've been able to coach it, and I've got a national championship ring from CSU with the baseball team, and that was the highlight of my 16-year career. There was getting to be a part of that national championship team, and but to see these three teams have success. The River Dragons, the Lions are building and building and building. And I think Roger and Corey have done such a fantastic job of changing the attitude. And they are doing things that are working. And word of mouth is going to get around, and they're going to end up packing the Civic Center before it's all over. There's not a ticket's going to be hard to come by because they're just too entertaining not to come and see. And Dave and I were talking about it on the air. You probably heard us talking about how you need to come see this team in person. We love it that you're watching us on YouTube and that we're getting to talk to people on YouTube. That's great, but you need to come see this team in person. You need to experience this in person because it's just different in person. It's what I was always told about hockey. You can't, it's hard to watch hockey on TV. You need to go see it in person and experience it. And then what everybody gets fired up about hockey season. It's the same thing with this arena football. It's a compacted version of real football. It is real football. It's just a compact version of it. And man, is it excitement wrapped into a small arena, into a small package. And you got great athletes out there. You got some great names out there playing, and some names that people recognize here locally. And sometimes, like the guy who was playing quarterback against the Lions on Friday night was the co-Big Ten Player of the Year at Penn State a few years ago. So you got some guys that have done it on a high level that are playing in this league, and it's really fun to watch, and it's fun to be a part of. And I commend Roger and Corey for being bold about what they're doing. They're taking some chances with some things, and they're working right now. Nothing has failed yet. It's moving this way, not flatlining or going down. It's moving up, and I think the word's going to get out about this team and the excitement building around it, and it's just doggone fun to be there, and that's what people want. That's what fans want.
And fans want options as well. I mean, the game is
Oh,
great,
absolutely.
and that's why they're there. But more importantly, the bottom line is, having, from the time you get there at 5 o'clock, from tailgating, I know at the arena football games, and all those, the bouncy bouncers for the kids, and the halftime entertainment, all of the promotional things that go on throughout the game, and even at the Clingstones with the up and down the third base and first base line, having the opportunity to take the big groups, and have fun, and it's just again, the game is the centerpiece, but all of the options, all of the promotional and the fun that you have around the game, that's what makes it wholesome. That's what makes it worth its weight in gold as far as the entertainment factor.
And it is absolutely family friendly. The kids are loving it. I love both teams. Both teams Friday night were going around the board slapping high fives with kids. And I mean, even the Wheeling team was coming over, and there were about 10 kids lined up, and they were holding their hands out and they were giving them high fives. And that was during the game, not after the game. And so it is family friendly. It's great for the kids. It's great for everybody. And I think Roger and Corey are doing a fantastic job. I think the Clingstones are doing a fantastic job of marketing that team and getting out in the community and being involved. And the River Dragons, the same thing. And enjoy this. If you're a citizen of Columbus, enjoy it because that was the goal by bringing all these people here and getting these things going. We've got the facilities, we've got the We've got the population. We just need to support these teams, and it is it's a heck of a lot of fun. And so that's my advertisement for this week. Unsolicited, don't get paid a dime to do that, but that's it's just doggone fun, and it's fun to watch, and it's a part of Columbus, that sometimes a lot of people focus on all the bad things that are happening in Columbus, and they forget about the good things that are happening. We've got great high school sports. We've got great college sports with Columbus State University. We've got great professional sports right down there in the South Commons area. And Columbus United Soccer will be starting up before long. And we'll have a fourth one in there, going with the River Dragons. Once their playoffs end, their season will be over. And then, soccer will step in and kind of fill that void. But good gracious, we got plenty of opportunities for people, and it's affordable and it's fun. And, I'm glad to be a part of it, and I know you're glad to be able to promote it with Sportvisions and everything, and be a part of their goings on every day. But
absolutely.
But hey, DJ, with that said, Marty did have some technical difficulties that ended up kind of killing him. I think his mic went out or something, and so here's what we're going to do. We're going to end this show up, and I'm going to say thank you once again for being with us. And folks, if you want to catch DJ on a daily basis, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern time, 6 a.m. to 9 Central, 7 a.m. to 10 Central time. You can catch the Sportvisions radio show. He's either going to be with Thrift Barringer, or he's going to be with Richard Holdridge, or he's going to be with both. And you're going to get plenty of great sports conversation. You're going to get plenty of great guests that are going to make appearances on the show, and they have their finger on the pulse of everything in the sports world around here in the state of Georgia, and especially in this area of the Chattahoochee Valley. And join them every morning. It's a great way to start the day, is to be with these guys on a daily basis. And DJ, again, want to thank you for everything you've done for the community over your years. You have put together something that has been fantastic, and your support of this community and giving back has been tremendous, and a tremendous example for everybody. And we just appreciate it, man. And we appreciate you being with us. It's your second time back, and we're going to have you back again because it's never a bad time when you're on here with us. We got plenty to talk about.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. But don't forget that Sportsvision app, absolutely free. Go to your app store, download it. You can get us anywhere. And for you who have smart speakers, just say Alexa, Sportsvisions radio, and you'll get it. Or Alexa, Sportsvisions 92.1, and you'll be cooking with gas. I'd like to say we are your hometown sports guys.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, DJ, thanks again for being with us, and everybody out there. Like we always say, God's going to give you opportunities. Doors are going to open. Paths are going to be clear. Don't be afraid to walk down them. Don't be afraid to walk through that door, because that's a way you can step up and make a difference. And we need more people who step up and make a difference in this world. If we get more people doing that, and we get more people doing that for the right reasons, this world will become a better place. I guarantee you. And we'll be able to praise God for that, as we always do. And so until next week, for my man Marty Durden, Dr. Marty Durden, the golf coach at Shorter University and a professor up there, and my good friend DJ Jones, we thank you for joining us. Tell your friends, share this podcast around, let everybody know. Get in touch with us on social media. We've got social media pages both on Facebook and Instagram. Go on there and comment if you have ideas for us, if you have feedback for us. Get on there and comment and let us know. And don't forget to tune in to Sportsvisions 92.1 Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern time, and catch DJ Jones on a daily basis. And we will see you next time. DJ, have a good weekend, rest of your weekend, and we'll see you, man.
Take care.
Good night, everybody.